Hi everybody, this is week 14. This is the last video. That honestly makes me a little sad. I've had a really good time on this semester working with all of you. This has been a really good experience for me. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. One sort of minor favor to ask, I know I've mentioned it a couple times. The student ratings of teachings are available, so if you could please fill those out, that would be great. Means a lot to me. They're completely anonymous, so you can say whatever you'd like. You can say my teaching style is not good, or my fashion sense is awful, or you can say I'm the best teacher ever, or whatever. And there's no real way for me to link these comments to anybody. I mean, unless you put your name in it. I do see what's written on it, but I don't see who wrote it. And like I said, unless you put your name in it, then otherwise I have no idea. So please do that. That's super important. And honestly, if more than about 50% of you do it, which I can see the numbers, like how many people have done it. Currently, 4 people out of the 20 people in this class have done it. If 10 or more do it, there might be some extra credit in it. So please fill that out. The link to fill it out is here in the show notes. I've also put it in the assignments for this week and this write-up, and I'll send out another email about it. So the only big thing coming up this week is the final. The final is going to follow a very similar format to the last quiz. There's going to be a couple of extra things to write about and a lot more questions. I haven't figured out how many points I want to make the question answer piece, but that's going to be the same as it has been for the quizzes in the midterm. One shot, but this time it's cumulative. It's everything from the beginning of the semester until now. So go through that and refresh your memory on shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, and Google search terms and things, because those are going to make a resurgence. I wanted to talk about a few things this week, not many, because I don't really think that's fair to go over things and then not give you a homework assignment to sort of prep on it. Basically, what I wanted to talk about is troubleshooting and encryption in ciphers. So for troubleshooting computers, this is maybe would have been better to make this one of the first things we talked about, but I have to cover the Office suite and a few other things before I can get to this. When you're troubleshooting a computer problem, it's best to be as specific as possible. So, if you're asking for help or whatever, just saying, hey, my computer doesn't work, that doesn't really give it much information. And honestly, you're all smart enough and have enough information now that you can kind of troubleshoot these things on your own. So really try and get down to what exactly is happening. And one of the good ways of doing this, there are a couple of questions. The first one to ask is what's happening that shouldn't, or what's not happening that should. So, if you're clicking on a link and it's not loading, why do you think that's happening? Or if you're trying to print something and it doesn't work, why do you think that's happening? Or if software isn't loading, or if you go to click on Chrome and rather than Chrome launching, Excel launches, why is that happening? So the last one, Chrome, you double click the icon for Chrome and Excel launches. That's what's not happening is Chrome isn't loading. What is happening that shouldn't is Excel is starting. So these are questions to ask. So the next question to ask is, when did this behavior start? So you can kind of pinpoint when this started happening and see maybe what happened around that time. And finally, what's changed in the system since then? If you bought a new keyboard, or if you installed some new software or something, or your questionable buddy came over and used your computer, then maybe they did something. These are just things to keep in mind. I've also made a link to an XKCD comic that sort of explores this idea. It's a little bit facetious, but it's actually pretty helpful. Actually, let's go have a look at that right now. So this is that comic I was talking about. You can see it's xkcd.com/627. It's a flowchart to kind of go through if you're interested in fixing computer problems. Honestly, it's a little facetious, but for the most part, this is pretty accurate. This is kind of what I usually do if I'm working on a piece of software that I'm not familiar with, or even if it's one I am familiar with. You can kind of look at the flowchart and go through it, and it sort of works. Basically, all I'm saying is that, if you're working on a piece of software you're not familiar with, you can usually look at these menu items and kind of figure out a good area of where you want to do something. Like if you're trying to print something, Usually that's going to be under file, or if something's not working, you can go to edit, what have you, and go through these and try and figure out what the issue is. Chrome and other web browsers are maybe a little too simple, I guess. Like, there's not that much you can do with a web browser, but if you're doing something in like Word or Photoshop or something, then going through those different menu items can be very helpful. Anyway, I just wanted to do another screenshot sort of thing, I guess. So back to the main piece. So yeah, really that kind of sums it up. If you just kind of look through the menu items, that's a really good way of figuring out how to do things. So now I want to talk to you briefly about ciphers and encryption. I'm sure you've all heard of, whether you know it or not, of Caesar ciphers. This is basically where you take A through Z, all 26 letters of the English alphabet, and you pair them up with a shifted version of the alphabet. So if, for example, I had like A, B, C here and A, B, C here, and I shift this way, so I have A here and C here, so then A and C line up, and then from there we have A, B, then C, D, so then C and D are lining up, and then just on throughout the alphabet. So basically, that way you can write, if you're writing out a sentence, you just look and go, okay, well, there's a D that lines up with this other letter, etc. Traditionally, a Caesar cipher, it's shifted 3 times, so A lines up with D, B lines up with E, etc. This was really common when I was a kid on the playground, like when you're passing notes and whatever, you would do a kind of a standard, we didn't know it at the time, but we were doing a Caesar cipher. Usually we'd shift it a little bit more than that. The other thing that was really common was just doing a random cipher, so you'd randomly write down letters and line them up with something else. There's another type, a really specific application of the Caesar cipher called Rot 13, or it stands for Rotate 13. Basically, you take the alphabet and you rotate it 13 spaces, so A lines up with N, B lines up with O, C lines up with P. Essentially, it's the letter A lines up with the N, which is kind of the halfway mark. This way you can encode and decode using the same software or whatever, the same procedure. Because if you have Rot 3, so you rotate it 3 spaces, then that will not decode it. You have to kind of run it through a couple times in order to get to anyway. I actually put a link in the write-up for this week to a place where you can kind of play with this. It's used pretty regularly online for places that are like telling jokes. They'll put the joke text in plain text and then ciphertext the punchline, and that's sort of how you refer to it. Like when something's in the clear, when it hasn't been encoded, that's plain text. When it has been encoded through some kind of encryption algorithm, that's ciphertext. One thing that you're all probably familiar with are like decoder rings. This was made popular, of course, by the Christmas Story movie. So if you have something like this right here, this is a Captain Midnight decoder badge. You have a ring of numbers on the top and then letters on this little dial that you can turn, and you essentially line those up somewhere. So you have like, N equals 1, Q equals 2, and then it goes around like that. You can use this to send code to your buddies by saying, like, well, B equals 12, and then it proceeds from there, and they would then line up their decoder badge, so B equals 12, and then they can decode it. It's kind of neat, actually, I think. It's unfortunately not secure at all. It's really, really easy for a computer to break these. But what this leads to is something called a one-time pad, where essentially you take something like this and you randomly generate a bunch of strings, so you have keywords lining up with numbers that are randomly generated, and then you write that down on a piece of paper. You have 2 copies. You give 1 copy to your friend, and you have 1. You write it out using the sheet of paper 1 time, and then rip it up or whatever. When that's really hard to break because it's completely random. There's no repetition. That leads into other things like public key encryption and a bunch of other deals. I'm not going to get into those. Those are going to be topics for you guys to research for the final, but it's just something I wanted to mention. Right, let's see. Anything else? Nope, I think that's it. So thank you guys for a really good semester. I hope you had fun. Remember, please fill out the SRT. That's really important. It's just really important to fill them out for all of your classes, not just mine. Like I said, if I get more than 50%, I might throw some extra credit on the final. So do that. Help out yourself, help out your buddies. So if you all do it, yeah, and then there's most likely going to be some extra credit, but no promises. No, I'm not guaranteeing that. So anyway, right. So I hope you guys have a good semester and a good holiday season. Stay warm, stay safe, and see you around.